I invite you at this time to just sit comfortably in your chair or your seat. You may close your eyes. This is a moment of hope. It begins first by utilizing that power that we have called faith. Scripture says, we walk by faith, not by sight. Faith is that inner ability through which we can perceive outcomes that are better than what we have now. Through faith, we build dreams. We have visions, visions of tomorrow. Where there is darkness, we can see light. Where there is heaviness, we can see lightness. Where there is suffering, we can see ease and peace. So this morning, I want you to paint a picture in your mind of bodily health. Seeing every part of your body working in alignment with spirit. In spirit, there is no sickness. So if we are experiencing any form of illness, unhappiness, lack, limitation, because we are mental beings, we could unite mentally with spirit to bring about what we call a healing. One of the first things in the experiences of health is to establish a forgiveness, a treatment. It begins with a denial. Not denying what you are experiencing, but denying the power that the experience may have over you. So whatever is going on in your life, realize that you give power to it by constantly affirming it as you think about it. So I want you right now to release the power that you have given to whatever you may think might have been ailing you. I am not saying it does not exist. I am saying that the power you have given to it, cease giving power. And now affirm, I'm a spiritual being at oneness with God. I live, move, and have my being in God. If God is perfect, whole, complete, then my potential is to be perfect, whole, complete. Scripture says, whatever you ask for, you will receive. So I want you to ask. To ask means to claim. I want you to claim that vision that you have of yourself going forth from this place. Establish a vision and just claim it. I am perfect, whole, complete. The only power in my life is God. And since God is absolute, good, perfect, whole, complete, and my desire is to experience my divine potential as perfection in every area of my life. This is my truth. The truth does not change because the truth is absolute. My truth is I am perfect, whole, complete. Just place your mind above your head and just picture a white light, a small white light, full of energy, circling above your head, and now slowly moving down through your head. And since the light is pure and perfect and whole, see every cell that it touches being transformed into its true nature. Just let that light move down through your neck. And every cell, every organ is being positively affected. And let it move down your shoulders into your chest. And all the lung muscles, all the muscles in the lungs and the heart, all the tissue, all the fiber, all the bone, all the cells are being ignited. Into your abdomen. And all the cells that make up everything in your abdomen is right now being established in a state of wholeness. Feel the light moving through your pelvis, touching every organ, every bone, every fiber, every tissue, every cell. Energizing. Through your legs. To your calves. Into your feet, causing you to stand upright. Feel the peace. Feel the oneness. Feel every cell in your body working together to sustain this wonderful gift that is you. Realize that from here on, everyone and everything that you come in contact with will be operating in a state of love, state of oneness. And since there's no tension in your relationships, There's no more tension in your body. There's no more tension in your world and your affairs. And there is peace. And give thanks. I am God's melody of life. God sings, God sounds through me. I am God's melody of life. God lives and moves through me. If you see me, you see the Father in me, expressing itself as perfection, as wholeness, as completeness. And just rest. And so it is.
Please refer to the bulletin for the thought for the week. It is by Reverend Barbara. The person thinking the thoughts is the person creating your life. Who is responsible for the life you are currently living? You. We will now have a musical selection by Shem from the Voices of Praise.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. And I believe that somewhere in the darkest night, a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. And I believe, yes, I believe above the storm, her smallest prayer will still be heard. And I believe that someone in the great somewhere hears every word. And every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know I believe. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, then I know I believe.
Today's lesson, The Law of Thinking, will be given by the Reverend Barbara Schreiner-Trudell.
Good morning. You have to listen closely today. I'm having an experience. 2 days of absolute silence. My husband felt blessed. The journey that we're on is one of consciousness. And there are spiritual laws operating all the time. And we can never be exempt from them, as much as we would like to on occasion. And the law of thinking is one of the most powerful things, in fact, probably the most powerful thing, because what you think about, you bring about. So my daughter was sick all week, and every time she'd cough, I'd say, cover your mouth or I'll get sick. And so it is. There's a power in the universe that we forget about. And I think sometimes we start worrying or judging or looking at things as bad and wrong. And really what we need to be doing is checking our thinking constantly and continuously so that what we reveal is what it is that we truly desire. But isn't it interesting how we think about our fears more than our dreams? We worry about things more than celebrating and being grateful. Anybody here have that experience? Yeah. What we want to do is recognize that the power of thinking, of course, is the most powerful thing in the universe because the mind creates the reality. And if my mind is creating my life, what is it that I want my life to look like? So I was very grateful for Reverend Evan's meditation, seeing the health flowing through my body, through my vocal cords. See, we need to see it. Many times we'll hear people say, you know, I'll believe it when I see it. And that's actually backwards. You're going to see it once you believe it. It requires belief first. So how do we get there? How do we begin to see the universe as something good and very good? How do we begin to shift our thinking from the negative to the positive? I mean, you think of your garden. I'm sure many of you have gardens right now. You don't allow the weeds to grow freely, do you? You go in and you pluck them out. Why? So there's enough food and substance for the plants that you really want, that they might flourish. It's the same thing with our thinking. You see, we tend to think about what's wrong in the world. We tend to think about what's wrong in our lives, what's wrong with the people around us, what's wrong with everything. We look at the world as bad and wrong. We listen to the news and we believe that. And as we believe, so it becomes bigger and stronger. I'm suggesting that we shift that we begin to think about all the things that we truly desire, that our attention be focused on that which is good and very good. So if we believe that God is everywhere present and God is good, then good must be everywhere present. Am I right? But why is it that we see evil, that we see bad, that we name things bad? These are habits that we've formed from the way that we've been raised, the way we've been conditioned through media, school, whatever the case may be. And what we want to do is shift that. We want to begin to see the spiritual essence of life as the power and the creativity of all that is. So we want to focus within. This week while I was reading Raymond Hollowell's Working with the Law, brilliant, brilliant book. You can tell I've read it a few times. It's a mess. He says in here that mystery is only another name for ignorance. All things are mysteries when they are not understood. But when we understand life, it no longer appears mysterious. So we look at things sometimes and we go, why does this happen? Why does that happen? What we want to do is surrender into a place of knowing that everything that happens on the outside was first an idea in mind. Now, I didn't think about getting a cold. However, I did tell my daughter that, she was going to give it to me. So there was a receptivity in me. There was a receptivity to an idea. Not everybody catches the flu in flu season. Not everybody catches a cold when somebody else has it. Why is that? And it has to do with our consciousness. We're not thinking necessarily clearly about something negative happening, but there's some sort of force within us that believes that things are contagious and we might get it, that something's genetic and so it might happen. What we're suggesting here, though, is that the power of God is all-powerful. And if it's all-powerful, then I have the ability to shift consciousness that I have the ability to create my life in harmony with my love, my journey, my possibility. And if I will begin to believe more in God than in a virus, a shift occurs. The minister who trained me out of Calgary, Reverend Carol Carnes, she had this mantra, I never get sick. That was her thing. I never get sick. We had a congregation of 600 people. She never got sick. How many of you think, you go to school, you're going to get sick, you go into public, you're going to get sick? Not her. I never get sick. In all the years of her ministry, all the years that I spent with her, never once did I see her with a cough, a sniffle. Why? Because her belief was, I never get sick. I never get sick. You see, something's going on for each one of us that we journey along. And I'm not saying that we are to blame for something, but we need to notice our receptivity to the different things in our lives, whether it's poverty, whether it's health issues, relationship issues. All of it comes from a receptivity, a belief system that maybe was implanted when we were young children, an idea that somehow bad things can happen, and if we believe that, we get to be right. A member of my congregation in Vernon, BC, had breast cancer. And when she went to the doctor, immediately the doctor wanted to do surgery. And she said to her, could you give me a month? I want to try something else. And she spent that month in forgiveness. Forgiveness. Simple concept, huh? Not necessarily. But she spent that month in forgiveness, most especially around her former husband, who she was very angry with. And when she went back to the doctor a month later, the mass was half the size that it had been. The doctor still wanted to do surgery, but my friend said, give me another month. And when she went back a month later, it was gone. Now, we might look at that and go, wow, that's a miracle. It is not a miracle. It is the natural outflowing of spirit. When we begin to focus on a greater idea, when we begin to focus on love and goodness and possibility, when we begin to believe in the power of God over the power of disease, we begin to see there are not two powers, there is only one, and that is a power for good. And that power is operating in each and every one of us at every point in time, all the time, but it is operating according to our beliefs. My friend believed that she could cure her body through forgiveness, and so it is. It is done. Examine this week, examine your thinking, examine where you put your attention, examine what your thinking is all about. Are you sympathizing with people for the distress that they're in and inviting it onto yourself? Are you in that place of that, bad things happen to good people? Are you believing that it's possible to be limited in any way? And if so, just know, and so it is. Doesn't make us a bad person to believe that, because frankly, most of us do. Most of us believe in limitation. One of the things that he talks about in this chapter is that we don't see with our eyes, we see with our mind. We see with our mind. Our eyes are merely windows that allow information to flow in, that our mind might take it and look at it and make a decision about it. And depending on who we are will depend on what that decision looks like. Everyone has a different idea. We see something, even the colors in this room, I see a pale yellow, you might see a brighter yellow. I see a red carpet, you might see burgundy. We look at things from our own perspective, our own training, our own history, our own set of belief systems. But the way we think is up to us. Sometimes we get mad because somebody says or does something and it hurts our feelings, and we go, you hurt me, you made me mad, you upset me. No. I chose to be upset by my interpretation of events. You didn't do anything to me. See, no one can make me feel a thing. I feel because I think. I feel because I look at the world around me and I make judgment about it, and it produces feelings and emotions in myself. But I have absolute control over that, as do you. So any situation we find ourselves in, we can begin to look at it from either a perception of all is good, all is God, or, oh, what an evil, horrible world. It's up to us. The shift in consciousness that we're looking for in this world, you know, we sometimes sing that song, Let There Be Peace on Earth. Peace doesn't happen because we sing a song and then go out and yell at our neighbor, get annoyed at our kids, be ticked off because we're standing in line at the grocery store and the person in front of us is taking forever. You know, they've got coupons from every single flyer that came out that month. And they're at a store that says, we'll match it. So they pull them out one by one, and the person has to check it. Meanwhile, you're standing there fuming. You're on the phone to Rogers or Bell because your internet's not working. Would you hold, please? You are 47th in line. Shouldn't be more than 2 hours. And then when they got on, they go, sorry, this is the wrong department. Let me switch you somewhere else. And so we look at these things and we blame that person about how we feel. We get upset and annoyed and frustrated thinking it's their fault, but you know what? It's not. It's my thinking about the situation that has produced that emotional response. It's my responsibility. When we begin to take responsibility for our lives, we begin to create a life that is much more harmonious and exciting and free and beautiful. We begin to create a life that honors the divine essence within each one of us. We begin to create a life that is productive and powerful and positive. But it begins with us. No one is responsible for your life except you. And I'm not saying you're to blame for whatever's going on. I'm just saying there's a receptivity in you that has created your current experience, and you have the power to change it. Isn't that good news? No one has power over you. No one is creating your misery. You're doing it all by yourself. Hallelujah. Isn't that great news? I think that's great news, because if you've created the manure, till it in the soil, pull out the weeds, and plant a bed of roses. You can do that because you are the power of creation in your life, just like I'm the power of creation in mine. Yesterday, as I was laying around doing nothing, unable to speak at all, my family going, I thought, Pierre says to me, maybe you should call Evan and tell him you can't do the lesson tomorrow. And I went, somehow, some way, I'm going to have a voice, so it'll all work out. Might be a squeaky one, but it'll be sultry and inviting. That's my definition of it. The power of thinking, he says in here, it is an unlimited force. Your power to think is inexhaustible. Yet there is not 1 in 1,000 who may be fully aware of the possibility of his thought power. We forget how powerful we are. That's why we come here on Sundays. That's why we come here for classes and workshops, because we forget moment by moment how powerful we are. Even Evan and I have forgotten on occasion. But because we're here teaching, because we're here experiencing, we remind ourselves. So if there is a moment of forgetfulness, immediately the reminder is there. Wait a minute. We can't stay there because we know something bigger, better, brighter. We can't stay in that forgetfulness because we're preparing a lesson that says, hey, I'm a powerful creative being. What is it that I'm going to create? When we live in harmony with the universe, we begin to create things that are unexpected. And I spoke before about my journey to ministry, my journey to Toronto. And it really sounds miraculous. I've started writing a book about it, and I'm kind of in awe of the number of miracles that occurred in such a short period of time that brought me to ministry. And if I ever wondered whether or not this was the right thing for me to do, all I have to do is reflect on my path here, and I realize, holy moly, it was just rolled out in front of me. Now, along the way, I thought there were struggles. I thought there was mountains to climb, difficulties. That was all in my head. When I came to Toronto, I was here a couple of months. Somebody flew me to Paris for the weekend. All expenses paid. Hey, you want to go to Paris for a couple of days? Okay. I'd never been to Europe. It was fantastic. It was beautiful. Paris in the springtime. I had another congregant come up to me and say, hey, you can't get around without a car. Let me buy you one. Bought me an RX-7 convertible. I liked it a lot. Till I got pregnant with Genevieve and couldn't get in and out of it anymore. It was too low. The thing is that we cannot begin to explain the workings of the universe, and so we don't even need to try. We do not understand what God is or universe is or the nature is. What we want to do is begin to find a way to work with it. And what I'm suggesting to you is to weed your garden. When your mind starts telling you, this is wrong, this is bad, shut it up. Go, whoa, back up, back off. What I know is there is only God and it is good, and I demand to see the good in this. Just like my voice today, I demand to see the good in this. I know there's answers. I know there's an opportunity for me to live more and be more by my acceptance of what is. And so we look at thinking as something that's powerful and creative rather than something that we can just worry about any old thing and let our mind run around like a 3-year-old in a candy store and expect all to be well. You let a 3-year-old run around in a candy store, they're going to be running around for hours, out of control. He goes on to say in here, the mind force is creating continually like fertile soil. Nature does not differentiate between the seed of a weed and that of a flower. She produces and causes both seeds to grow. The same energy is used for both, and so it is with the mind. The mind creates either good or bad. Your ideas determine which is to be created. Wow. Now, we've all had our thoughts of, oh no, what if this happens? What if that happens? What if? The purpose of life and living is for us to be present in what is, recognizing this now moment is the only point of power. The past doesn't exist, the future doesn't exist, only now. What am I doing now? What's happening now? Am I present now? Can I be with what is now? And if I look at what is now and I go, I'd like to change that, then all I need to do is begin to imagine a future that is powerful, positive, and productive. That requires me not to sit back and go, oh, poor me, I feel sick, but rather to go, wow, this is an amazing opportunity for me to express and to live more fully who I truly am. Am I ready to do that? Am I willing to do that? Am I willing to step up and be all that God created me to be? Each one of us is being asked that moment by moment and day by day. What happens is we look at the world out here and we see a problem. And then we focus on that and we wonder why it expands and grows. We want to stop that. We want to go within every day. We want to go within and remember whose we are. We want to remember that Christ in me is the power of glory. That this is the creative force, that all that I have need of, all that I desire is already available right here, right now, through me. There is no rescuer out there. There is only me in here, rescuing myself from my own delusions of grandeur or whatever else is going on for me. We relax into this moment and we celebrate and rejoice in the beauty of love that is being us. And I think love is the answer regardless of what the question is. And if love is the answer, how can we love ourselves enough? How can we meet our needs so completely? How can we stand in our power and receive ourselves as God, as the Christ? Are we willing to do that now? Are we willing to stand up and shine our light so brightly that the world around us is lifted? This is what we are being called to. We are called to shine our light. Each person is created unique and special, just like everybody else. And if everyone is unique and special, wouldn't it be awesome if when we met another human being, we decided to discover their special, unique nature and to celebrate it? I wonder how that might change the world. I wonder how that might change our experience of the world. I watched a movie this week that was really interesting. I think it was called Some Kind of Different, Just Like Me, something like that. And it was about a wealthy family that went and worked in a mission, cooking food, serving food, cleaning up for homeless people. And one man had come in and he was really angry and he's smashing things up. And the wife was just really clear the only thing this guy needed was love, and that her husband, who she'd had some challenges with, needed to discover that. And so she sent him to bring him food and stuff, and the guy was kind of miserable. But through love and through persistence, those walls came down. And what we discovered was his history and the pain he'd gone through, working in cotton fields and being treated like a slave, although he wasn't one, but treated that way. And how the journey to wholeness came through the love of this woman who insisted that within every human being there is something really great. She ended up dying of cancer, but the husband and the good friend, they traveled all over the U.S. talking about the way to make a difference in a homeless person's life. They raised over $87 million doing that. You see, we can look at someone on the street and pass a judgment. We can look at somebody who's wearing raggy clothes and pass a judgment. Or we can recognize that the Christ shows up in many different ways. And the moment we see it, it is revealed. Now, we know for certain if Jesus Christ walked through this room right now, you'd be ignoring me right on point. You'd be grabbing at his robe, trying to get a healing. The Christ is sitting beside you right now. The Christ is within you, being you right now, not someday, not when, but now. And you can turn to that, and through your thinking good, thinking positive, thinking love, you will begin to create a loving, powerful world around you. And are you ready for that? Are you ready to take responsibility? Are you ready to look in the eyes of another person and say, I love you? I had a very funny experience in a Shoppers Drug Mart. I was looking for, I don't know, baking soda or something silly. And I end up in this aisle, and there's a man in front of me looking in the same place, and I'm kind of looking around him. And the thing I want is at the very bottom shelf, right in front of it. Oh, I know what it was. It was SOS pads. And it was right in front of him on the bottom shelf. And I said, oh, excuse me, I need this. And he goes, oh, what are you looking for? I said, SOS. He goes, me too. So I go down and grab it. And he goes, isn't that cool? I was in the other aisle. They sent me over here. If they hadn't done that, I never would have met you. And I went, no kidding. I said, I love you, man. And he looks at me. I know, I do weird things in public places. And he goes, I love you too. He said, this is so great that we got to meet. I went, I know. What are the odds? And we have this little conversation, and then I go my way, and he goes his, and he waves back. He goes, I love you. And I went, I love you too. And off we went. I've never seen him since. Most of the time, even if we felt the impulse to do something like that, we wouldn't do it. Because I'm a woman and that's a man, and he'd get the wrong impression and, oh, you know where that's going to go. It's going to be an ugly, right? But it wasn't. It was beautiful. It was a beautiful thing that happened between two people. My brother one time was at the gas station in the wintertime in Alberta, so you know it was really cold. And he left his car running, kind of by mistake, and another vehicle pulls in. And the guy is cursing my brother out because he hasn't shut his car off. Now, if he had said, hey, man, shut your car off. I got my kid in my car. It's kind of dangerous. Perry would have shut it off in a minute, but the guy's like cursing and swearing, you dumb, blah, 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 blah. I won't say what he said. And my brother's just standing there pumping gas. He looks and he wants to say something, but he sees the guy's kid in the back seat, and the kid is kind of scared because Dad's really yelling and carrying on. My brother doesn't shut his car off, finishes pumping his gas, puts the hose back, looks at the guy, and he goes, I love you, man. Hops in his car and drives away. I don't know what happened to that guy or what happened to his kid, but that was probably an interrupt for him. Because usually when we curse someone out, they curse us back. My brother was one of those fighters, you know, those fighters that there's no limits. He was one of those guys. He's not somebody you would want to yell at necessarily. A big guy. But he knew in that moment that to act aggressively would have hurt that child. And when he saw the child, he decided to act in love. See, we're always at choice. You know, we'll sit back and say, yeah, but this person did something bad to me. That's your interpretation of events. What they're doing for themselves, for whatever reason. And if we can look at it from that perspective and not take it personally, we begin to realize that whatever somebody does is a call for love. And it's up to us if we choose to slip into the darkness or if we choose to think something more beautiful and loving and act from a place of love and light. We are always at choice about what we think. There's only one person thinking the thoughts in your life, and that's you. No one has put them there. No one demands that you hold to them. Sure, you've been influenced by teachers and parents and ministers and whoever, but you get to choose what thoughts you're going to think. You get to choose what thoughts are going to run rampant in your mind. You get to choose how you are going to think about life and the world. And as long as you think the world is broken, you get to be right. As long as you think people are evil and should be feared, you get to be right. And as long as you think life is hard and just gets harder, you get to be right. But in the moment that you change your mind and go, God is all there is, it is everywhere present, it is all-knowing, it is all-powerful, in that moment you will see good where you look. And the more you see good where you look, the more energy of good that you will just instill in the people around you, and they will begin to see something similar. And that inspiration is going to grow and expand, and the world will become a loving, beautiful place for you and the people you touch. Now, wouldn't that be a sweet, sweet thing? I think my thoughts. You think your thoughts. Tell me, what are you thinking about? One final word from Raymond Hollowell. As long as we allow things to seem real to us, we are putting our energy into it. We are nurturing it. We are feeding it. We are keeping it alive. We are putting our faith into that thing whether we like it or not, and it must naturally grow. For the law of growth is ever working to produce whatever seed we plant. Plant a seed of love today and watch it grow and flourish. God bless you.
Well.
If you continue to think what you've always thought, you'll continue to get what you've always got. If you continue to say what you've always said, then the dreams you're dreaming are surely dead. If you continue to walk that same old walk and continue to talk that same old talk, don't you know that you can grow in the ways of the Lord?
If you continue to feel as you've always felt, you'll never be able to help yourself. If you keep believing what you've always believed, then what you've been getting, you'll continue to receive. If you continue to think that same old way, your life will be the same every day. Don't you know that you can grow in the ways of the Lord? You've got to change your point of view.
Change
all the things you do.
Dig way down inside of you and let the light of God shine through.
You've got to
change.
Oh, in every way.
Step by step, day by day. No more waiting, hesitating. Change your life today.
If you continue to think what you've always thought, you'll continue to get what you've always got. If you continue to say what you've always said, then the dreams you're dreaming are surely dead.
If you continue to walk the same old walk and continue to talk the same old talk, don't you know that you can grow in the ways of the
Now
Lord?
you've got to
Change,
your point of view and
change,
all the things you do.
dig way down
Inside of you
and let the light of God shine through. You've got to change,
Oh, in every way.
step by step, day by day. No more waiting, hesitating. Change your life today.
Again, you've got to
Change,
your point of view and
change,
all the things you do.
dig way down inside
Of you and let the light of God shine through.
You've got to change,
Oh, in every way.
step by step, day by day. No more waiting, hesitating. Change your life today.